So, welcome to our
Likewise.
exciting online event on inclusive leadership development, leading diverse teams in the global era. My name is Kiran Sharma, and I'm delighted to be your host today. We have a fantastic lineup of speakers and a moderator who will guide us through an insightful discussion on practicing inclusivity in leadership development. So, as we all know, that in today's interconnected, multicultural work environment, leaders must embrace inclusivity, not just as a value, but as a strategic capability. As organizations expand across geographies, the ability to lead diverse, distributed, and dynamic teams has become crucial for a long term success and innovation. So, this discussion will explore how leadership development must evolve to one, foster inclusive thinking and practices, two, build cultural competence and belonging, and three, prepare leaders to drive equity, innovation, and performance globally. So, with
Okay.
this, I would like to once again welcome all of you and start introducing our panelists. So, the first in the line is our moderator, which is Snigdha Varmani. She's a coach, facilitator, senior HR and culture strategist. She comes with 24 plus years of global experience architecting people and cultural transformations. She specializes in driving HR strategy, workforce planning, leadership development, and creating high impact frameworks that fuel sustainable growth. She helps leaders shatter what's blocking their brilliance and reclaim who they were always meant to be. Through coaching, facilitation, and strategic consulting infused with soul, she creates spaces where leaders move from merely high performing to unapologetically high aligned and being unstoppable. She is passionate about empowering leaders through strength based growth, shaping cultures that foster strategic reflection and values driven leadership, and building resilient, future ready teams. She comes with rich experience of working with known names like Cognizant, Genpact, and EHM services. So that's really great, Snigdha. All of y'all, please join me in welcoming Miss Snigdha Varman.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome, Snigdha. Welcome.
Thanks, Kunal.
Now, our today's first speaker is Mr. Kunal Punjabi. He's director and capability leader, order to cash, Ecolab for GBS and Pune. He's a pragmatic leader who believes and has proven that open communication and conversations can solve almost any situation, regardless of the complexities involved. Adept in managing finance operations, hands on leading large teams, improving performance standards, and transforming Antwaki ways of working and managing businesses. Quintessential in spearheading and improving end to end order to cash, procure to pay processes across multiple countries. He also comes with an experience of working in multiple industries like media, music, shipping, manufacturing of apparel, steel, cement, and specialty chemicals. He holds certifications in Lean Six Sigma Black Belt, PMP, and supply chain management. He is the winner of International Award for Cost Reduction Par Excellence conducted by Quality Circle Forum of India and Silver Award conducted by SCM HRD under Corporate Excellence Awards, Cost Reduction and Pokayo. Apart from being in a corporate race, he is also inclined towards poetry, music, fitness, meditation, perfumes, and any kind of distinct genres of creativity and self love. That's really great, Kunal. All of y'all, please join me in welcoming Mr. Kunal Punjabi.
Thanks for the warm introduction and kind of feeling elated, humbled, and overwhelmed with this introduction. So thank you, panel. Thank you, everyone.
Pleasure's all ours. Okay, so next we have Mr. Ishank Chibbar, Learning and Development Team HR from Yash Technologies. He comes with 13 plus years of experience in L&D. He has served different industries like e-commerce, IT, voice and accent. He comes with a rich experience of working with various companies, out of which one being Flipkart. And at this place, it would be noteworthy to mention that he has contributed to the first ever big billion sales. He has trained more than 5,000 new hires, senior managers, leaders, conducted various leadership workshops, worked on numerous e-learning, wherein he has also lent his voice for different voiceovers. He's also a certified instructional designer, a TEDx speaker, past life regression therapist, Akashic record reader, and a shadow healer. He also runs a page, Break the Silence, which is focused on mental health and prevention of child sexual abuse. He's currently in the process of becoming a psychologist from University of Symbiosis and is also in the process of becoming a life coach. That's really great, Ishank. Really, really great to have you here. So, all of y'all, please join me in welcoming Mr. Ishank Chibber.
Thank you, Kiran. Thank you so much for that wonderful welcome, and a very warm welcome to my fellow panelist and our moderator as well.
Thank you. It's a
Thanks and
pleasure
welcome,
talking to
Isha.
you.
Welcome.
So I'm sure we have an incredible session ahead filled with innovative ideas and forward-thinking discussions. So without any further ado, I will hand it over to our moderator, Snigdha Varmani, to kick off the session. It's really great to have all of you all online, and let's enjoy the enlightening event together. Over to you, Snigdha.
Thank you, Kiran, and welcome once again to all of you. It's a very interesting conversation that we are going to have today, much needed in today's world. We will dig deeper into how do we define inclusive leadership, and that too in a global context. So I have with me Shank and I have Kunal with me who will be here to answer. So let's start with understanding why is inclusive leadership the way it is today and why does it matter more than ever? Ishank, the first question I'm going to give to you is how would you define inclusive leadership in today's increasingly global and hybrid work environment?
All right, so that's a very loaded question, if I may be very honest. And uh, I mean, to begin with, I think answering that will be from my perspective and, where I've seen my journey evolve since I've started working in 2012. Yeah, since 2012 onwards is when I started my career. So I've seen the industry grow quite a bit. Where it was the ask where everyone had to be in office versus now where we are in a hybrid mode, we can take flexi work from home. Certain companies that have an option of work from anywhere as long as you're working and available, ensuring that you're productive. So the whole sphere of inclusivity has gone beyond the walls of, an office. That's the most basic thing, is one of the basic and the most major changes I saw, is that it's no longer just limited to the physical presence of, there being an office premises or employees reaching there on time. As long as they're able to log in on time, they're able to take part in their meetings or, whatever task they have been assigned with. And the more I thought, or, the more I think about this question, what also comes to mind is also the cultural sensitivity that has, been increasing, which is very important in today's day and age. We are not just, working in a myopic setup. One thing that the advent of COVID taught all of us is that we need not travel anywhere. We can use the virtual means to be, sitting in India and yet connect with people in San Francisco or, China or Japan. So that kind of cultural sensitivity that, comes in when you're interacting. And even if you talk about India, which is such a beautiful hub of diversity in its own self. When I drive to office, I see people from, different walk of life, and each one, like, it's very beautiful when I observe them, at the signal, or when I'm at my workstation, I'm observing people taking different tasks, different, the same task, and they may have different point of view basis on their values, their belief system that they carry with themselves, which begs the question that the opportunities that we are giving them, are they equitable or not? So, diversity and inclusion also has to address the fact that the opportunities that are being given to all of us, if they are really equitable, are we getting, the same kind of resources, growth opportunity, recognition of employees, whether we are working remotely or we are working in office or we are working in client locations. Some of us are in role where we may be on the payroll of one company, but we may be working out of a different office altogether. That may be our client office, right? So how do we take all of these different parameters and ensure that we are flexible and adaptable at the same time to incorporate the different point of views, the life lessons, the identities that everyone holds very close to them, which is a very integral part of who we all are, and how are we mitigating our biases? So I think the whole concept of bias is a very important part of when it comes to diversity, be it the Horns effect, the halo effect, the ageism bias that we have, the gender bias that we may carry. How do we mitigate that? How do we even begin to understand that we have a certain kind of bias? Because we have one set of leaders who may think that if you're in office, then you're most productive, versus those who understand that even if someone is working from home, or just wants to take a break but not a leave, and is sitting in a different location, but they are working and yet they're productive, right? So uh, it's, I think, boils down to all about building connections. How smoothly, easily we are building that connection, that rapport with the people around us. And when I say people, I literally mean people, not just limiting ourselves that, okay, these are my client, I'm going to focus on them. These are my team members, I'm going to focus on them. No, it has to be a very universal approach of how we are actually interacting with the people around us, how we are lending them a listening ear, and not just hearing them out, but we are actually listening to what they have to say and what they bring to the table.
A lot of good points, Ishan. Thank you for sharing that. And, I think it's very, very important, especially how this inclusivity has changed over a period of time since we've got into
Right,
the hybrid space, like you likely mentioned, right? And yes, India is diverse, and we are talking about global teams. So the diversity just keeps on increasing, and very critical that
correct.
we all understand what it means today. Thank you for sharing that, Ishan. Kunal, moving on to you on the same line of thought. Now we know what is inclusive leadership, but why is it now considered a business imperative and not just an HR initiative, how it has originally been always considered? Kunal, you're on mute.
It's a great question, and I would say it's a little overloaded, as Ishang said, but it's an appropriate question, and I see a paradigm shift in how we are evolving in terms of the companies and organizations. It is indeed. Why? Because in my opinion, it is directly related to performance, innovation, and long-term competitiveness. I have seen companies with inclusive cultures. They are a lot better at attracting top talent. They are in a much better space to understand diversified, uh, time bound business needs. When I say business needs, I'm talking about cross culture, cross function, cross teams. So they are in a better space to understand and making smarter decisions. When I say smarter decisions, I mean decisions which are fact based, not rhetoric, not legacy based decision, but they look at the situation, they kind of do a gamba walk, and they make a smarter decisions, and they have a different lens to look at the problems. So this is what I feel. And especially where in today's era where agility and creativity are critical to quality, inclusive, according to me, is not just nice to have or cannot be used as a buzzword. It's a strategic necessity, I would say, for the growth and resilience. If I have to simply put in a nutshell, I would say uh, by embracing inclusivity or inclusion, that drives better business outcomes. This has been my experience hands-on, I would say.
Lovely. And I must say it's very refreshing because I have been on the HR side of the table all my life. And it's very interesting to see how business have started looking at this as their own imperative rather than saying this is only an HR thing and initiative, right? So I just love the fact what you said about inclusivity being a lot, bringing in a lot of strategies. So thank you for sharing that, Kunal. Moving on back to you, Ushank. We are talking about developing skills, behaviors, and mindsets that are needed to lead diverse and distributed teams effectively, right? So, how would you address unconscious bias in a leadership behavior and decision making? You did touch upon biasness in your
Hmm.
earlier answer, so please help us elaborate a little.
Okay, so I think unconscious bias is a vast sea. Majority of us are not even aware that we may operate out of, some kind of bias. So Kunal said something very interesting. He said legacy decisions, right? Now, if something is working and it has, yielded results, so we all tend to pivot around that and be like, okay, this has worked in the past, it's going to work now. We don't really expand our own mind and our own horizon of, what if there's something else? What if there's something new in the market, right? So that in itself is a bias. And very recently, while working on a project, I am so used to using Excel. I'm so comfortable with it that despite having been, trained on Power BI, I thought, no, I can do it on Excel. And it took me 3 hours to do one complete calculation. And whereas my team, I had I had delegated certain tasks to them. They opened Power BI, and within 5 minutes, their analysis was done. I was blown away, but at the same time, I was like, okay, we need to take a step back. We need to, start moving away from Excel. So when there are these moments, which create an epiphany in our life. So that's when we have to take a step back and be like, okay, is it just bias, based on the name as well? Because just the other day, I was speaking to one of my school friends. His name is Mohit. And I told him, you know what? I have another best friend in office. His name is also Mohit. And then I realized in my first organization also my closest friend was Mohit. So the name bias in itself is also, something so strong. We are creatures of habit.
Yeah.
The comfort is what we are looking for. So bias also should address what is your comfort zone, right? How comfortable or uncomfortable are you with something? So I did take touch upon, some of the biases in the previous question. Like one of my most favorite, and when I say favorite, it is because I find it very surprising that in this day and age we still have gender bias, and I absolutely hate that. I come from a family where we have had equitable opportunity for me and my sister. If she was taught how to cook, I was taught as well, although personally I'm very horrible at it, so I'm not allowed in the kitchen anymore. That's a different thing. And when it comes to the workplace as well, I see, I've seen women leaders struggle to reach certain designations, certain benchmarks, more so than the male counterparts. And I speak from experience of looking at my own, my own family, my sister, my mother, the friends around me. They have been working, uh, you know, okay, let me not use, I was thinking of an adjective, let me not use that, let me keep it very professional. They have been working day in, day out, they've been flogging themselves, learning new skills, but something as simple as a gender being associated with someone, it creates a bias. So, how do you step away from it? Because we are judging, we are not evaluating. As leaders, we are supposed to evaluate, but the moment we look at someone, we judge them. We judge them on the basis of their name, on how they are dressed, and how they are speaking. What kind of bag they have in their hand, how is their resume looking. We don't evaluate a resume, we judge them. So there's so many things of in terms of bias, but some of the ways that I personally, after the whole Power BI incident that happened personally with me, is I realize it's best to be self-aware. Take a moment in a day's time and be self-aware. So be self-aware. How much of AI are you using? Are you using it overly? Right, because AI is also making people dumb. Now again, that might be my own bias, but the interactions I'm having with the newer generations and their responses, oh, this I can get this in AI, and I'm like, you have a book, You have an ebook. You might want to flip certain pages there, because I personally love reading books. So being self-aware of, where we are coming from, what is the environment around us, how we are reacting to the change in market, the stimulus, and being in the learning and development industry, I think gives me a very different, unique lens, is because I get the opportunity to train people on, unconscious bias or bias in nature.
Lovely.
So I get to interact with people, and they tell me that, yeah, you're right. I may have rejected someone just because I judged them. I didn't evaluate them. And they're like, how do I evaluate? Give them a task. Give them a task right then and there in the interview, right? And then you evaluate their output. You don't judge someone, you evaluate them. One of the biggest bias that I have faced, since around the age of 24, 25, is because being from the learning and development industry, we are expected to, be a certain way, which includes not having tattoos. As you can see on both my hands, I'm inked, right? So when I have classroom sessions, the first thing I notice in all of my participants is judgment. Okay, this person has tattoos, he's going to train us on corporate etiquette, really? But it takes time to break that, and that's when I ask them very blatantly, how many of you decided to judge me based on the fact that I have inks, which by the way I really like. So they will never answer it honestly, but I can see it on their faces that that
Yes.
yes, and that being like, okay, yeah, we did judge them, right? So training your people, understanding that even if you are not aware that your people may have bias or maybe operating out of a bias, 99% of the time we are all operating out of some kind or the other bias, right? Even if we think, now if I'm to talk about the halos effect, which is basically creating an echo chamber, those who agree with us, we will pivot a lot towards them. Oh, you agree to my ideas, I'm going to give you the best of the project. Horns effect, you don't agree with me, you have not done well, that means you're not going to do well for the rest of the projects, right? So again, that is a bias. So if you are self-aware, if you're getting trained about it, and if you are painstakingly conscious about it, the reason why I say painstakingly conscious is because it's a lot to do with self-assessment, introspection, unlearning, and learning. And this cycle has to keep repeating till the time you are in a role where you are interacting, or as long as you are alive, because everything will change. Everything will change. Our smartphones, I remember we used to have that Nokia 1100 phone. That changed. It became, we had colored phones coming in. We had that flip phone of Samsung that was all the buzz. Then we had Moto Razr coming in, a phone that I desperately wanted but could never get my hands on it, right? Then we had iPhone coming in, and now we are from smaller phones, we're again moving back to big screen phones, right? So the market will change. People around us will change. The stimulus around us will change. We have to be self-aware about it. We have to be self-aware of our first reaction. What is the knee-jerk reaction to the changes around us? And if we can do that and bring in some kind of accountability for ourselves, leverage the data and the feedback that we are receiving, I think that does bring in to address the fact that how do we handle the biases that we operate from. And it's a journey that will be beautiful. It will be testing, you may not be the most comfortable, but being uncomfortable at times is the best thing for learning and growing.
Oh, very well said, Ishank. And I especially I have this memory of sitting through an unconscious bias session, and I thought I'm not biased at all. I mean, I can't be, right? So, and when we take the test, you realize how much it is a part
We
of
are
your
operating out of some or
personality.
the other
We are
bias.
absolutely
Yeah.
operating out of the biases, and even including gender biases. And most women would think that they are not, but they are, because it's years of conditioning that brings you to a
Correct.
point. In fact, I was reading a research on this lately on gender bias, and it said it'll take another 200 years for women to earn as much as men do today. 200 years, right? And there's so much more things around it which kind of really make you wonder. And if that was not enough, then there is this unconscious bias. Like you said, people are judging you on your clothes, on the way you talk, on the way you present, on anything and everything, which is coming from so many years of how life should be or how people should be. So thank you for sharing that. I think very, very interesting conversation. And as we move forward, Kunal, back to you. Um, Please talk to us a little bit about what are the most critical competencies that leaders need to lead inclusively across generations and across cultures.
Well, again, a great question, team. The questions which have been put, they are thought-provoking. I should say that, or I must say that. According to me, in the spectrum of other most critical competencies, in my experience, what I have observed in and around, and according to my uh, previous experience, I would say while we inculcate, ingrain a lot of competencies, both hard and soft, I feel that there are three which top the chart. And the first one I would say is cultural intelligence. And then the second one is emotional intelligence. And I will talk about all three in terms of what I mean from these. So, cultural intelligence, emotional intelligence, and adaptability, which is also better known these days as agility or embracing the change. Uh, be ready for disruptions. Nothing would stay constant. So if a leaders work on themselves to in these areas, I think they would be in a much better space, and their modus operandi will change over the time. And going back to my first point, when I say cultural intelligence, I simply mean that this kind of intelligence enable leaders to understand and respect differences in values we have, communication styles, and as you said, the way we all dress. We have this variation in workplace norms, and different cultures. So I think understanding emotional intelligence and respecting emotional intelligence, that is I feel is important, because we have plethora of leaders who are thought leaders in their own forte domain area, not kind of stealing this away from them, but I think it's important to have hands shake between IQ and EQ. I think that's what it will continue to be important. And when I say emotional intelligence, this particular aspect allows leaders to connect with the team members, or probably down the line, their subordinates, more on a humane ground. And by doing so, we somehow subconsciously or unknowingly and without any intention, we build trust. We are in a better situation to manage the conflict in a better way and in a more constructive way, I would say. Uh, and then we are somewhere promoting psychological safety as well while we are taking care of this aspect. Because while we deal with business and operational tribulations and meeting the targets, it is imperative, non-negotiable to strike out the balance between meeting what has been given as a target, and empathy, I think, and humility. So we need to have a perfect balanced concoction of these three things, which will make leaders better than others who somewhere resist to adopt to these traits, I would say. And last in a row, according to me, is agility slash adaptability, because we know that we are in an era where situational leadership is the best when it comes to delivering results. Autocratic, authoritative, those leadership had their industrial revolution. I don't feel though they work anymore. It's an era of operating with practical and situational leadership, because one size does not fit all in this diverse uh, uh, era we are living in, with millennials, with Gen Zs. It's important that we leave the status quo and we embrace what is the need of an hour, rather than uh, only living on the past glories. That's what I feel. Uh, and so how can we do that adaptably and agility? The way I humbly practice, when I conduct a session or the town hall for my team, I ensure that everyone not just feels that they need to speak, they are motivated that ideas can come or flow in from anywhere, anyone, all culturals, gender diversity. So we don't have to kind of harp around what's the source of the idea. We should keep the Pandora box open, or we should keep the gates open so that ideas can flow in. I think that's the best way and a practical way to substantiate that you are agile, you are adaptable to different cultures, people, learnings, different skill set. I think this is according to me R3. So to sum it up, cultural intelligence, emotional intelligence, backed up by adaptability and agility.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Kunal. In fact, in some of my, in fact, in a lot of my conversation, which I have with the leaders when it comes to training and what is it that they like to see a change in their organizations, it's, I think it's a little, I wouldn't call it sad, but it's a little concerning to see how many of them are dealing with this multi-generational teams and how to ensure that everybody feels that they are equal and they contribute. And to Shang's point earlier, the amount of unconscious biasness now we have to say Gen Z is a certain kind of a group, and millennials are a certain kind, and they all have these biases around each other, and how people are navigating to that, and how important it is for leaders to be able to use that, to your point, the situational leadership, to be able to come and bring that a little bit, bring in some a little bit more ease in the system. Kunal, I am going to continue with this line of conversation with you. You did mention that how some of the skills that are needed uh, to be a part of this multi-generational teams. I would like to talk to you a little bit about in this kind of a situation. Why is inclusivity, or how do you make inclusivity a part of the system? Like, how do you hire people, promote, how do you build in the culture? To make it more specific, how will you ensure that there is a diverse talent that is identified, mentored, and promoted into leadership roles?
Sure. And before I answer this, I would probably take 30 seconds to circle back. You brought us interesting statistics in place that it will take 200 years to kind of change the mindset. It's my humble request to all the leaders who will listen to, should shake hands with empathy and emotional intelligence so that we can curtail the time period of what you said, 200 years, by probably by 50% or more. So this is my request. This is something which I'm exciting about, that we will continue to operate in a cutthroat, outcome-based world and companies. But it's important, equally important, to stay humane and deal and look at the issues and resolutions from a human angle first, followed by data centricity, what works best, and thought strategy. I think this is what my closing comments are on the statistics you brought in. Moving on to your next question, how do I, or how do we in my current organization ensure? Uh, for that, I feel that again. I don't want to repeat, but for that, it's important that the leaders should have a mindset of being pragmatic, data driven, and proactive. One should not attack or arrest these needs by being reactive. So it's an important. It starts with us. We don't need to wait for a moment to execute this, and we can initiate this by broadening how we define and scout for potential, not just relying on traditional credentials or networks or evaluation system that can continue because they have been in legacy for some good reasons. But we need to be empirical. How do we scout for such potential? And then probably create a structured mentoring and sponsorship programs that connect diverse employees with decision makers who can then advocate for those diverse employees. And then, most important, I would not forget this, but keeping a structured governance around performance metrics and accountability. It will automatically ensure that we get our top quartile performers on the surface, and then we can hone their skills, work on their developmental areas by giving a constructive feedback, by executing a coaching. I think, and by extending that hand of coaching, that's how I generally like to practice, and my organization, I can proudly say, works on the same instruments. Uh, and so again, to sum it up, structured mentoring and sponsorship programs, tracking down the performance metrics with the use of the best possible technology we have, could be AI or could be anything, but it has to be unbiased. The performance needs to speak for itself rather than someone needs to come ahead, move up the staircase and substantiate how he or she has performed in the year gone by, or how they have been performing. So clarity is required, and really need to think of scouting that potential and uh, stand by it, which are over and above the traditional evaluation parameters. And I feel when inclusion is genuinely included in talent development and not just treated as an afterthought, it simply becomes a leadership pipeline strategy and not just a diversity initiative. That's what I feel.
Thank you for saying that, Kunal. I love the last point where you said make it genuine to make it a part of talent development and not as an afterthought or a check in the box initiative, which we tend to do as a part of the organization. So yes, great points. Thank you. And moving on the similar lines to you, Ishank, what steps have you taken to embed inclusive values into team culture and to leadership structures in your organization?
So, you know, I, I mean that again, these like I think I echo Kunal. These questions are something that will are like forcing us to go deep dive into ourselves and look at things from a very different point of view. And while I do understand that there are certain organizations that have a dedicated DNI cell in them, a DNI team, but and it sometimes it works. It creates that kind of safe haven, safe environment for people from a diverse background. And over here, of course, I'm also including diversity in terms of whatever orientations people might have, whatever associations they might have in terms of their sexualities, their cultural backgrounds, their ethnicity, the minorities that are there. But sometimes a workplace need not need a DNI cell. What it needs is the basic foundation, a basic foundation of evaluate someone on their work, give them equal opportunity to grow in the company, right? And this is something I learned along the way, and it's an ongoing process. I'm still learning. So the first thing that I personally did when I came into the organization and over a period of time, certain teams were, mapped to me, is that wanted to create a very safe space, a safe environment where it's beyond judgment. And it's something I keep telling in my training sessions, to my team members also. It's okay to mistake, it's okay to make a mistake, to make an error is fine, but what is the learning out of it? I'm like, I'm not going to yell at you. You're not a school kid. You're not, who's working on an assignment or a project or a science project who's missed a deadline. We have missed to deliver something. It's going to have its repercussions. It's going to have, some kind of blowback. But what is your learning out of it? How do we ensure it's not repeated? And never in front of the entire team, never in front of, 10 people. It's always a one-on-one connect. And even if someone is making repeated mistakes, the first instinct is, we might be like, are you not competent enough that, let's say, for example, you can't send one email correctly? That's the first instinct that goes. But when we are talking about creating a diverse environment, a safe environment for people to operate in, how many of us actually take a moment to ask, are you okay? Is something bothering you? Do you want to talk? Right? you like chocolates? Here's a chocolate. Why don't you take a break? Let me handle it for a moment. We will come back and regroup on it. How many of us actually do that? And that's a practice I make it with my team. At the end of the day, I mean, it's not mandate because when they're logging out, I'm like, log out, go enjoy your life. But if you want to, connect with me, decompress with me, you're more than welcome. We'll just go on a tea break. We have a lovely premises. We'll take a walk around the office, or we'll just sit in a meeting room and talk. If you want to talk as much as you want to, I will listen. What you say remains with me. It remains absolutely confidential. I don't even discuss it with my own family, what my team tells me, because there's a trust in that. So the apart from creating a safe space, that I wanted it to be a safe space for my team and the people whom I interact with, what I also ensure is that I keep telling my team that keep reading, watch certain things, understand. So okay, why I'm bringing this up is because when we're talking about a workspace, not many of us, because we are in the middle of, like you said, very rightly you said, we are in the middle of, a change where Gen Z is coming, there's millennials, there are boomers, right? So there are 3 or 4 generations trying to work together. There's bound to be fiction, right? There bound to be, like you had said some time ago, there's bound to be this unconscious bias that Gen Z is going to be like this, they're going to be wallflowers, they're going to cry about everything. But what are they crying about? Why are they crying about it? Is it valid? If they are saying that I don't want to work for 12 hours, I want to do 9 to 6, is it wrong? If they're finishing their priorities in time, is it actually wrong? No. Then why are we creating a problem for them, right? So I make it a point to ensure the people whom I interact with, I tell them that, hey, you know what, just let's not be a negative poppy for a change. Let's try to, really empathize and see how that person is feeling, right? So I'm someone who encourages, and it should be actually, what I'm encouraging is work-life balance, and it should be again a very basic thing. But if my team is done with their work and their top priorities are done, if the rest of the task can be taken tomorrow, I'm like, please log off, go enjoy your life. Even if you want to do nothing at home, be my guest. Don't be in the office for 12 hours, 13 hours, 14 hours. So, and that's actually the kind of environment I'm working in. We don't encourage, or we don't reward people. Oh, you're working for 14 hours. Fantastic. You're nice. You're amazing. You logged in at 6 o'clock in the morning and you're logging out at 12 o'clock in the night. Truly commendable. And what if the person faints in the office one fine day out of exhaustion? Is your appreciation going to help them in any way? No. So it's about creating a safe space in terms of a psychological safe space, a physical safe space, and one that is the most basic: respect. Respect the boundaries. Understand that two people may be comfortable with each other sharing certain things, but they may not be that comfortable sharing it with me, and that's absolutely fine, right? Again, as as leaders or people who are in the position of leading people, they wear a very they wear multiple hats together. They're trying to be in multiple boats at the same time, so it becomes a little tricky for them, is what I've also realized out of observation, where at one point they want to be the friends of their team members, their colleagues, but situation arises where they may realize that there's some resistance happening, people are not opening up, but they never understand why they are not opening up, right? They always think I'm doing everything right. Okay, if you think you're doing everything right, then ideally that's it. You've stunted yourself. You're not growing. You are not actually creating a safe space, an inclusive space. You're creating an authoritative space. That, okay, I'm doing this, this is right. So you have to open up. You have to let me in. You have to tell me if something is bothering you. Even if two people are best friends, they may not tell them 100% of what is going on in their life. So why should a person tell that in the workspace? And that's something that has to be accepted. So accepting boundaries, creating a safe psychological workspace, creating a safe physical workspace, encouraging a positive work-life balance, giving equal opportunities, right? And you have to make yourself relatable. Tell your own life experiences. Make a joke at your expense before you decide to make a joke at someone else's expense. right? Make that relatability, make them comfortable that if they make a mistake, they are not afraid that I might lose my job, but be like, okay, I can walk up to my leader because he's a leader, not a boss. The term boss has become very negative in these days, is because somewhere all of us, including me, we have had the unfortunate, series of events where we have come under a boss who has micromanaged us, who has rubbed us the wrong way, who has created a toxic work environment, right? So take the learnings from that, be the opposite of that, and don't turn into someone that you don't want to be. I think that's how I'm trying to create, inclusive, a safe workspace for the people around me.
Thank you, Shank. I think we underestimate the power of doing very small things, like you mentioned, just hearing people out and spending a minute or telling them that you matter. Right on the face of it, I think everybody's aware of it, but practicing instead of preaching is something that is amazing to see. So thank you for sharing that. And with that, we are going to move to a last set of questions. We have spoken about why inclusion, why is it important, how are we embedding it. Now let's move on and talk about how are we overcoming the barriers that come into the next phase of inclusive leadership evolution. With that, Kunal, my first question is for you. What does the future of inclusive leadership look like in a world driven by AI, with remote teams and cross-border collaboration?
Okay, thanks for this question. The way I look at it is I think with a lot has been covered somewhere in the points which we kind of passed through in bits and pieces and in a fragmented way. I'll probably collectively bring it together. Again, I have listed down some points in my mind to kind of making sure that I decode the buzzword of uh, uh, inclusive leadership evolution. I think digital empathy will continue to be required. This simply means we continue to lead with emotional intelligence across all screens and uh, uh, time zones of the people we work with, ensuring people should feel they are seen, they are heard, they are valued. Their contributions have been making impact while we operate in virtual spaces. And then we also need to ingrain or embrace inclusive technology fluency involving AI or any other digital tools that ethically eliminate bias in hiring algorithms in or hiring strategies, I would say, uh, and ensuring equitable opportunity access is given regardless of someone is working from office, in the office, vis-a-vis someone is working remotely. So we need to create an environment which says that this is an opportunity, it is accessible to all, doesn't matter where you are operating from, and doesn't matter which background you come from. The only tangible parameters should be put in place, which basically justifies the best person picks up the opportunity. But we need to keep that open to the across organization, a small but all known to us as an example, IJP internal job posting. That's one way to say that this is the job posting which has come on the surface. We are inviting applications. You are feel free to participate. Certainly by following fundamental protocols that check with your line managers, and you should be releasable as a resource. But it is an open application, and we invite everyone in this, followed by the followed by the sorry, my lights, followed by the practical and structured ways of evaluating who fits the bar best, and then close that. So I think that's one example I wanted to quote. And while we are operating virtually, hybrid, we need to continue to move forward with a global mindset, which are beyond any borders, which are beyond any cultural diversity. And we don't need to embrace cultural diversity as a challenge. I would say it's a strategic opportunity. Because when we talked about inclusion drives better results and better business outcomes, it's a win-win. While we are allowing inclusion or hybrid spaces to take place, it in turn ensures that it gives us better business outcomes, better top line growth. So it's a win-win situation. And in the end, again, as Ishank said, that AI is seen as a threat or as an endangered species these days. I would say it's it's uh, it's not a threat. We just need to reiterate this fact to our people, to our fraternity from time to time. Doesn't matter if we need to do it 10 times, but we need to change their thought process that AI is not a threat. What AI is asking all of us to change the ways of working, change us the way we have been operating in our antiquated style, that need to change. That also means that we need to upskill by understanding new technology, tools, methods in market. But that's not it. We also, so it's rather than upskilling ourselves with a skill or with some technology based method, it's important to have a global mindset and feel that AI can shake hands. And as I said earlier, and I love this quote, that it's important that IQ shakes hand with EQ. We need to have a balance. Uh, while AI does what it can do and what it has been, and the bars will continue to raise from an AI deployment and the usage of AI across organization, I personally feel undoubtedly humans will continue to be the most strong species on the planet, because what AI cannot do is uh, deliver emotions and deliver empathy, deliver humility. So we need to make sure AI IQ is used for data-based decisions, better business outcomes, thought decisions, informed decisions. But we need to keep human at the core of our business decisions. And then humans can spread across organizations in their hometowns, working remotely, working while on the client side, doesn't matter. That's how I look at the complete hybrid state, what we are going through.
Thank you, Kunal, for saying that. In fact, one big debate that we constantly see, and I was watching this on television yesterday about how AI started writing out codes, deleting data, and there was nothing that the person who created that was able to do about it. But I still think, in spite of all of that, the differentiator between AI and humans still is the emotional quotient, which you pointed out, and that is what differentiates us completely. And with that thought, Shank, moving on to you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you feel are the biggest barriers that the leaders face when they're trying to lead inclusively, and how can they overcome that?
Okay, I think there can be a lot of barriers if we're being very honest, right? But some of the most common ones that I have seen, or that I've come across, is one of the biggest is resistant to change, right? The first time, and again, I also go back a bit to AI because that becomes a bit the most relatable, right? But the first time AI came, I don't think I was resistive per se to it, but I didn't know how to use it. I didn't understand, the concept of prompts, which I'm still learning, not to say I've mastered it, right? So that whole idea, if you're not aware of something, you tend to be afraid of it, right? So if you are resistive to change, knowingly, unknowingly, then there needs to be some kind of, way to address it. That is, you highlight what can be the benefits of it, right? What can be the shortfalls of it? Where can you actually use this kind of new technology, new concept, new idea? Because I personally believe is that there is no idea that is wrong or is incorrect. It might be incomplete, right? So sometimes we just need to nudge the people in the right direction to get that idea to become fruitful, right? Another thing is unable to learn from the past. If we are not learning from the past, now again, there's a beautiful concept of, Scrum, Agile, Kanban, waterfall technique. But if you're doing your retrospect, or if more detrimentally, if you're not conducting a retrospect, then you will never learn, right? You will never understand what are the problems, what techniques, like could you apply a fishbone technique to get the answer for it? Could you do something as simple as a SWOT analysis, right? But even if you are doing a retrospect at the end of 2 weeks of, a scrum drive, and you don't have the answers with you, or if you're not implementing the answers, then that's just a tick mark activity, right? So if you're doing something to learn, if you're doing something to grow, it needs to be implemented. Without implementation, the same cycle will repeat, the same error will come again. You will have similar kind of customer stories that will become your product backlog, which you may not be able to deliver on. Then I think the whole concept, the hybrid work disparity, right? Where some of us, again, I go back to this, where some of us feel working in office is best. All right, perfect. That works for you. You might have 100 distractions. So, or for whatever reason, you may feel that, working in office is best. That's fine. That is your outlook. Let's respect that. We respect that. But let's also respect and acknowledge that some of us who are working from home will be equally productive, if not more productive. They will still meet the deadlines, right? So this whole disparity of, working in office is much better than working in, working from home or a different location can reduce your productivity. That needs to stop. Because I remember when work from home was introduced in our culture, 12 hours, 14 hours seemed like nothing. We were getting pinged at, 10 o'clock in the night and being like, oh, it will just take 5 minutes. You're working from home, you can, have your cup of tea, making it sound fancy. But at the end of the day, it was the most stressful time when, work from home came during COVID, because life in itself was in a major state of disbalance, and work life was gone out of the window. Working hours were through the roof. And I mean, I was with a different organization at that point of time, and I really wish I was paid overtime, because I would have billed a lot, right? So we need to, stop this disparity that, working from home can negatively impact you. It might, it may not. You need to evaluate each resource, which, comes to the next part. If you have certain projects, certain tasks that you need to delegate, which as leaders you have to delegate, are you real time evaluating or re-evaluating your team's skill set? Are you evaluating, is it a skill issue, is it a will issue? I know I'm sounding very trainerish, but and that, at the end of the day, I am a trainer. So is it a will issue or a skill issue? And you need to address that. You need to identify that. And how do you address this? Is by understanding each person is unique. We all have different psyche, different learning styles, different output in life, different point of view. We have a different lens on how we look at the world. There might be intersections in those lenses where similarities might come up, but it can't be 100% same. Our fingerprints are also not same, right? They are unique to us. So how will our point of view be different, right? And I think on the last part, what I would like to again circle back is, because now this is something that I've seen more often than I would like to, is biases. Understand what you're operating out of from. Understand how it is impacting. If you think that, I am doing everything right, like I said in the previous question, you are putting yourself up for the biggest failure, because you will be the last person to catch on to an advancement where others would have been the trendsetter, they would have implied it, they would have, been successful in it, and you are struggling to catch up with it. So avoid a situation like that, and uh, be open to change. Change can be scary, but then the beautiful part is that you learn something out of it. You learn your limits, if nothing more than that, right? You understand within your working space who are the ones who can be the biggest trendsetters, who can bring in the positive change that you're looking for, right? So I think these are some of, the challenges that I have at least seen in my career so far in terms of creating a, inclusive space, diverse space.
Great. Thanks for that, Shanka. I think it's been this conversation about working from home and returning to office has been such a big one in ever since we have been through this COVID. Suddenly life is very different from what we've seen in entire journey of being in the corporates, of course. And some people have taken to it, some are not, and I've heard both sides, and I think both sides of argument is equally compelling. So we will leave that one to what works best for people. But I think a lot of good points, I think, from both of you. And as we come to the end of the Q&A, I think some really good takeaways from here about how inclusiveness is something we think we have, but we don't, how unconscious biasness creeps in, and how smaller things make a big difference. And they need to continually learn and to grow and to change and be open to change. And some really fantastic answers from both of you. With that, there is a question that we have from the audience today. I will pick that up for either one of you to answer. I think it resonates back to our question about how we are seeing so much of multi-generational teams. So we have a question here to say, with the Gen Z joining corporate world, this workforce doesn't want to work and they consider salary as their right. How to be a good leader for them? Kunal, do you or Ishank, who would like to take it up?
I see Shank smiling. Probably he would be taking it.
No, I'm just trying to
I'm
relate
okay
when was
either
the last time
ways.
I
I'm
faced a
okay with.
situation like this. But because if I'm being in all honesty, I honestly have not come across a situation like this in my workplace, and I think I'm very lucky. But I do keep hearing this statement that, there is a sense of entitlement that is coming in with the new generation. But I think this may call for a counter question, and this is, I think, for all of us, not just the person who's asked this question, is that have we actually evaluated them? If you think that they think that the Gen Zs are entitled to their salaries, what have they done to demonstrate it? Is it, what exactly are the demarkers that make you feel that they are, you know, you know, just thinking that since I'm a graduate or a postgraduate, I should get a salary? And is it really wrong? The expectation to have salary, yes, but who defines how they are working? Is it correct or not? Are they still getting the task done within the timeline at the end of the day? They may be argumentative, they may, they may have learned the art of saying no, a service no, something that I've seen the previous generation, that is I think my parents' generation, they could never say no, right? And their work life was terrible, right? But if they are saying no, and if that becomes the reason why you think that, they are not willing to work, then I think there needs to be a reevaluation of, how we are looking at the benchmark here.
Fair point. Kunal, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I'm reading a question, and I'll like to answer, but I would like to say that I really don't feel that they are giving any tough time to the organizations or corporate world. Absolutely, at least that's not intentional. It's just that we have different lens to look at things between their generation and our generation and the generations before ours. I feel there could be some quick wins or quick ways to engage Gen Zs in a work culture and expect them to deliver how the results need to be delivered. Uh, we should not forget that the Gen Zs are ones who have reiterated, or for some people they have reiterated, and for some they have been eye openers to strike out the balance between your work life and personal life. What it simply means is that they have also subconsciously or unknowingly helped us to understand the significance of the good health. It's not about working too much. It's all about working for the longer time and without any probably ailments or diseases. So in my purview, they have taught us a lot of things, and it's time that we need to kind of coach them back on certain aspects which they are not aware of only because they are pass out, they are joining any organization for the first time. Their aspirations, their expectations are different from the organizations. And I have seen my organization can proudly say, and a lot of organization across globe shifting that traditional ways of working. How? We have seen organization coming up with a lot of initiative, be it in a fun area, be it in a learning area. We also have a lot of committees, which is says, let's say sports committee, fun committee, learning committee. What I feel that Gen Zs are in an aspiration to expect more than the salary and more than what work we assign them to complete, because I understand they like to do some hustle, which is fine. I think it's a great relationship which we can build. It will take some time. It will need some work, but I really don't see it impossible as a task that Gen Zs and millennials cannot work or they cannot contribute to the organization's results. We have a lot of Gen Zs. We have both. We have Gen Zs who are aspiring to expect something else. When we have Gen Zs who are working with most productivity and most accurately. So I think uh, I would say while this question is appropriate and valid, we can't and we should not generalize this as a generation issue. It depends it varies from individual to individual, and uh, the upbringing of an individual also plays an important role. So in the end, I would like to sum it up. It's not we should not generalize with between millennials and Gen Zs. It's all about look at what each person needs, finding the root cause, and then if someone wants to be engaged apart from the core responsibility, why not? It's a win-win situation. The person gets to learn, the organization needs to gets a chance to go beyond the metrics and numbers. So I think we need to look at it in a healthy way and work towards it, for two reasons. One, this is unavoidable. Second, we need to kind of constructively and be optimist about that two generations or what we are referring to can definitely blend and work together. This is what I feel. So I don't feel cumbersome when this statement comes. We have ways to work around, and we will slowly. Probably the learning curve for us will be longer. We may take longer to build relationships across generations, but we will be there.
Very well said, Kunal, and thank you, Shank, for that as well. I do believe that everybody considers a salary as their right, including all of us here. If it gets late by one day, we will all have a problem with that. But having said that, to your point, to both of your points, we cannot avoid being in multi-generational teams. The idea is to figure out the strengths for each and figure out a way to work together best. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you all you participants for being such lovely audience and for your questions. So if there are any more questions, we are happy to take them now. Or else, Kiran, over to you. Kiran, you're on mute.
Okay. I was so eager to say thanks to all of you because I genuinely enjoyed the discussion. And I was actually about to say thanks to Ishank and Kunal, as well as Snigdha, for the way this question was answered. I completely resonate with the thoughts that you have put across. So, with this, we come to the end of this event. Thank you, everyone, for being a lovely audience. As Snigdha said, thanks, Snigdha, for moderating. Thank you so much, Ishank and Kunal, for being wonderful speakers. I am sure the insights that were put across by all of you together have been of great help to all of us, and we will take back all that was to offer and implement as it might be applicable to us. So, thank you, everyone. That's all for the day. See you all in the next event. Have a nice day till then. Have a nice time. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Kunal. Bye,
Bye.
Ishan. Thanks,
Bye.
Silda ma'am. Bye.